Good evening. Um, I'd like to thank you for joining me and taking a look at my videos. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ed Link. I live in a tiny little town called Fletcher, Ohio. Population 400. 2 stoplights. And yeah, kind of wild. But I'm not here to talk about that. What I kind of do is on my unnamed show still, although I'm toying with a couple names, is I just kind of talk about what I'm thinking about God and my relationship with God, the Bible, church, whatever. And this evening, what I've been thinking a lot about, well, not just this evening, probably for about 2 months or so now, I've been thinking a lot about the coronavirus, COVID-19. And it's changed a lot. Our world has changed because of this virus. I never thought that I would see such change in our time, especially here in America. It's actually kind of crazy. Being stuck in the house pretty much all the time. A lot of that is a choice, though. My wife takes care of her grandmother, who has many health concerns at her age, and plus we have 2 children, and we're just trying to stay safe. We're trying to take care of us, and that's been a lot to ask of some people, is to, taking care of yourself is not their biggest concern. There's still many who believe that there's been a lot of overkill, and as we learn that people are fiddling with the numbers and making them read the way they want them to. It's hard to know what the 100% truth is. For us, it has been about keeping ourselves safe, and not putting our family in harm's way. I was given the option to work from home, and I've done that for the past 2 months plus, and I can't lie, I love it. It was a little rough with the kids doing at-home learning, online learning through their school. That's over now, thank God. But yeah, it's lots changed, and I think we're gonna see that continue for a while. People keep using the term, post-COVID, or, the new norm. And my wife's like, "Oh, it's not post-COVID," and I totally get that. But it's kind of the post-awareness, the post-outbreak of COVID. This is going to be around for a long time. They believe that there's going to be another surge or a mutation come this winter, and it will likely get nastier. Who knows? The kids may end up at home again for months. If they go back to school, they're saying now that they may need to wear masks the entire time there, and from the time they leave the house until they get home, they may have to wear a mask. I don't know how they're going to do desks 6 feet apart. There's not enough real estate in the school building for that. They would have to do classes in the gymnasium and no gym class. I have no idea how they think they're going to pull this off. But yeah, it's a lot of things that we're going to have to look at as we go. One of the biggest changes for most people who, let's say, believers. I attend church. I am a Christian. Those are the people that this is really affecting the most. that we can't just go and gather together and worship together and hear a message together. That's all been shifted online. My worship music has been Spotify. Sundays and Wednesdays, our pastor preaches, and that's how we're doing church now. I miss meeting, getting together, gathering. I really believe that is something that is important as a member of the body of Christ, that we join together, that we come together, that we're there to support and love each other. Several times a week, I've got a list of several people that I text or send Facebook message to, and just to check on them. How you doing? How's your family? You hanging in? So yeah, it's different, and different's not always bad, but this hasn't been great. It's not something I would have chosen to do, although I'll be honest, watching Sunday service in my pajamas, not fighting with my family to get ready to leave, not leaving 2.5 hours before service starts to go warm up with the worship team and do sound checks and run through the songs and the set list. Not doing that is nice, but after a while I miss it. And I miss the people. I miss handshakes and hugs, and the kids in the class that I teach once a month. Miss them to death. Such great kids. It's been a big change, and it might be one of those things that if we take a step back and we get a little perspective, that we can say, I appreciate it more now after having it removed from my life. That once we got past the whining and moaning phase of, I want to go to church, I should be able to go to church, you can't make me not go to church. And we realized that we're not just doing this for us, we're doing it for other people. When I do go to the grocery store, I wear a mask. I do that for myself. I do it for my children, my wife, and her grandmother. These are all people that if I contracted the virus, it would be a chain reaction. I do it for them, more even than myself. I wear a mask for people that can't wear a mask. I posted something on Facebook once, just like, because there's so much division, and not just in Christians, but in Americans about the masks. I shouldn't have to wear a mask. You can't make me wear a mask. You're violating my blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of, but you should want to do it if you can, which in posting that and going through the comments and having dialogue with people, I wasn't thinking that there are a lot of people that deal with anxiety, and wearing a mask is hard for them. There are people with skin conditions. Wearing a mask is very hard for them, if even possible, for them to wear a mask. So some of it's just putting yourself in someone else's shoes, which I believe is a call to every member of the body of Christ, that we can't call ourselves a Christian if we're sitting around judging others. If I say, well, I love my neighbor more because I wore a mask. That is a great way of loving your neighbor. Because if you're wearing a mask, if you have it, they don't have to worry about getting it from you. Even if they're wearing a mask. If two people are wearing masks, even if one of them has the virus, the chances of it spreading are almost impossible to spread from someone with a mask to someone with a mask. So, we need to take care of each other, and we need to think of, just not that everyone who's wearing a mask is sheeple. It's not people just doing what they're blindly told. It's people with genuine health concerns. It's people with loved ones they care about, and they don't want to see something happen to them. And reading someone, it was almost 2 months ago, I read something where someone's like, yeah, we're getting all these restrictions put in place, and it's going to prevent people from getting it, and it's going to be great, but there are people that will use that to say, see, it wasn't as bad as they said it would be. And sure enough, that's happening. But if you talk to people who work on the front lines, what we're calling the front lines now, these are people who work at gas stations, grocery stores, people who work in hospitals, people who don't get a day off now. Often a lot of these people are making minimum wage, and, they have to suffer through it. Their health benefits are not great. I've always believed nurses are heavily underpaid anyway. And now I really believe teachers are very underpaid. But I digress. So much of this, we I don't know. I'll say this as a white, straight, male, Christian American. One of the most hated people on Twitter, especially, that I love people, and I love taking care of them, and how do I put this in the right words? I feel bad for people who watch me fumble over my words, but I don't always know what I'm going to say. My rights are not my biggest concern, and they shouldn't be. Anyone who considers themselves a Christian, a believer in Jesus, according to the New Testament, ourselves should never be first. And let me come back to that, and say first that I do believe in self-care. It is important. I have burned at both ends of the candle and in the middle. I've messed myself up. I've been in therapy. Okay. I know what all that means. Self-care is important. But we also need to be concerned for others. I am my brother's keeper. I am my neighbor's keeper. And it's hard to do those things with social distancing. But if I'm not social distancing, I'm also not doing those things. It's almost like this weird paradox that no one would have understood even a year ago. That I need to take care of people and be there for people and help people. And I can't do that unless I am present. But if I'm present, I'm potentially putting them in danger. That's a rough one. And it's something that, I personally thought a lot about. And honestly, a lot of just what I've done is to have that online presence, if nothing else, of I'm here, are you okay? What do you need? How is your family? How are you coping in these social distancing times of I have to wear a mask to go get a loaf of bread. Oh, there is none because someone hoarded it all. You know, I found hand sanitizer. This was like, I mean, my wife, I thought she was going to have a party when I came home. I found hand sanitizer for the first time in 2 months. She was ecstatic. And it was great to come home and actually see my wife smile after I'd made a trip to the grocery store, because usually she's upset because she's been home with the kids alone. But yeah, it's just been weird to think that that things that we took for granted, like toilet paper, you know, I don't know who it is that bought all the toilet paper or why they started buying the toilet paper. But it's really been a literal pain in the butt. We got by for a while on the Aldi's brand toilet paper. It was the top tier Aldi's toilet paper. But it was not pleasant. I swear I got a splinter once from it. It wasn't good. But anyway, there I go, off the train of thought again. I do that. You'll get used to it, or you'll quit watching. But yeah, new normal. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, we are looking forward to the kids going back to school in the fall, no matter what that looks like. Because it's rough for us to do the things we need to do when we're also helping them with their schoolwork. In the summer, it's not as bad. You know, they're around just as much, but we don't have the homework aspect to deal with. So yeah, it's crazy. That's the best word I can use to describe it. But one thing that has really ticked me off through this whole thing was the quote religious persecution. That, you know, we can't go to church. We can't have church. We can't squeeze 1,000 people into a small building a couple times on a Sunday. That's not religious persecution. Okay? If you're saying that is religious persecution, you need to go back and read the book of Acts. You need to read some church history for what happened in the first few centuries of Christianity. You need to understand what religious persecution is. It's not being told that you can't go to the church building. Instead, you have to stay home and sit on your comfortable couch in your heated or air-conditioned home and use your high-speed internet to watch a live feed of your pastor preaching on Sunday. That's not religious persecution. It's no more religious persecution than me not being able to go to work or just, you know, go to a bar. You know, we're not calling that religious persecution. So that's one of the things that really kind of got me upset was the religious persecution talk, which it's always there. People are always ready to pull that trigger. And it's ridiculous. I mean, that's the nicest thing I can say about it. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, I get the sentiment that, you know, the government can't tell churches what to do. Well, kind of you can, you know. It's just one of the things that governments do. They take care of the people who live in their borders. The same reason that we pay taxes, whether you believe it's legal or not. We pay taxes to keep our government infrastructure and military defense in place. We need these things. I read a book once about that. It was like the Libertarian Manifesto. And it talked about how if we had a truly free society and we didn't have government telling people what to do, we didn't have law enforcement officers, we didn't have laws to follow, that it would be the least free way to live. You wouldn't be able to leave your home because you would be afraid of getting mugged, raped, murdered, because there's no law against it. There's no one stopping criminals. You wouldn't be able to leave your home because if you did, someone's going to break in and steal all your stuff. It's the least free way to live, is to be lawless. So yeah, there's a spiritual parallel there that I'm not going to go into right now. It's not religious persecution. It's not the government trying to control the church. It's not any of that. It's not the liberal agenda. No. It's the government putting guidelines in place to keep bad things from getting worse. And, our church has been very respectful of social distancing and guidelines. We're having our first leadership meeting this coming week. And I guess technically it's this week. Yeah. We're having a meeting, getting ready to start services again in 2 weeks. And it's a big deal. They are roping off every other row of pews to keep people at least that far apart. They're asking that no one aggressively try to hug or handshake someone without, making sure it's okay first. I'm probably going to stick with the fist bump and keep the hand sanitizer close. Because, again, I've got a family to protect. And, Dave Ramsey talks about that you can say that he's the best family man in the world, but, if he died and left his family in debt and no life insurance, then he didn't protect his family. He didn't take care of his family. He wasn't a family man, no matter what he said or how he acted when he was alive. He didn't put these steps in place. And it's the same way. If I'm not protecting my family by keeping myself from a bad situation and then bringing that home to them, then I'm pretty much a deadbeat dad, except I'm still working. Yeah, it's just crazy times. Another thing, and this really got me. My son said this. I don't know where he heard it. He wouldn't admit to anything about where he heard it or where the thought even came from. But he asked me told me that he thought that this whole virus and everything going on might be because God's mad. A, I was pissed. B, my heart broke. My heart broke. That would even crawl up in his head. That he would think that. Now, I'll admit, I would have believed that myself 10 years ago. Every time there was a tsunami or something. Oh, and I wasn't even going to church then. It's like, oh, well, communist, blah, blah, blah. And just a lot of that stuff had been indoctrinated into me from early on, family and the church we attended and all that. But to hear him say that when he's not, as far as I know, in an environment that would put those thoughts in his head. He goes to church. He hears the same stuff from the Bible that I heard when I was a kid. It's there that, God sent plagues and God, sent a flood, and, God sent burning sulfur. And it's in the Bible. And, quite often, those times, especially that I just mentioned, were God doing it, not as I believe for a time that God just stepped back and let the devil do it. No, this was God doing these things. And without knowing context of covenants and everything that surrounded those events. Yes, it's easy to say, well, God did that to those people. God's not love. God's not loving. God doesn't care. God wants his way, and if he doesn't get his way, this is what's going to happen to you. And there's so much of that. It makes me sick. I really wish that I could find a platform where I could address people and let them know that whatever your view is of God, if it doesn't look like Jesus in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, if that your view of God does not match that completely, your view is wrong. Yes, God did those things. Yes, those things happen. But there were covenants in place that caused reactions, that caused, let's just say, quid pro quo. It was part of the Israelites' covenant with God that you will follow these rules, these laws, these commandments. You will follow them to the letter, or you will be cursed. Not by Satan, but by God. It's there. But that covenant no longer exists. I'm willing to take the heat on that because, read Paul. Read his letters. It's blatantly obvious that he believes, and he grew up in that covenant. He was a prodigy scholar, and he believed that these things had ended, that Jesus fulfilled the law, that it was no more. That contract, that covenant had ended, and a new one was in place. God's not doing those things. God's not causing tsunamis. He's not causing earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes, viruses. That's not his heart. And every time we look at Jesus, whenever he's talking to people, he's always respectful. Unless he's talking to a bully like the Pharisees or the Sanhedrin. If he's addressing them, he was a straight shooter with them. He said, you're not, of course you don't know God. You're not his sons. You're the sons of Satan. You're a brood of vipers. You send out missionaries and make converts, and then you make them bigger sinners by making them converts than they were already. I mean, he was straight with them. And but you get him alone with a Samaritan woman who had been married several times and shacked up with another dude, and he's just he's chill. He tells her about the kingdom, that the Jews don't have it all right, and neither do the Samaritans, and in time it'll be revealed. And she's like, well, yeah, the Messiah. He's like, well, that's me. He didn't tell many people that. And he definitely shouldn't have been associating with a Samaritan, especially a Samaritan woman that was scandalous as that. He hung with scandalous people, and I love that about him. My friends are, I love my friends. They stretch me. They help me grow. But a lot of them are not your conservative Christian people. But more of us need that in our lives. We need to get out of our comfort zones. We need to not just do I'm going to go stand outside Walmart and tell people they're going to hell form of evangelism. We're not going to do the God hates whatever the people group your pastor recently preached about. We're not going to do that, because that's not showing love. The expression, you get more flies with honey, that makes sense. If and I'm not saying we should be obsessed with numbers. I hate number obsession. But we want to expand the kingdom. It's not about how many people go to our church. It's how many people, believe in Jesus and are letting him actually into their hearts and change their lives and, change their world. And, that's kingdom work. That's what's important, is kingdom expansion, not, how many people you brought on, the fifth Sunday of the month, which is, everyone knows, that's the day that preacher's going to tell them that they got to get right. Got to get them there, many as you can. And then they put up on their Facebook that we had this many people make a decision for Christ, and it's like, ooh, that's great. We didn't have that many people in our church this Sunday, but the people who left were empowered. They were encouraged. They were educated about the covenants, about the kingdom, about the love of God. And they're going to come back next Sunday. I don't know how many people that you got saved will be back next Sunday, or still be there next year. I don't know how many of them are going to go to seminary. I don't know. I honestly, it's not that I don't care, but I kind of don't. Does that make sense? Jesus said that we would know them by their fruit. Someone who says, I'm a Christian, I have a Christian bumper sticker, I wear a cross pendant on my chain, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't say bad words. That person is not one of my people. My people are the ones who aren't afraid to have a drink occasionally, who aren't afraid to let a bad word slip every once in a while. My people genuinely live authentic lives that are focused on their communities and their families and their friends. That they have just as many, if not more, atheist friends than they do Christian friends. Those are my people. I've got friends who are atheists, agnostics, spiritual seekers. I've got friends who are gay or lesbian or trans. I don't let any description of a person about what I see or how they describe themselves, I don't let that affect how I feel about them. Now, if you're a jerk, then I'm probably not going to hang out with you a lot. But if you're even somewhat spiritual or intellectual or political even, I can sit down and have a conversation with you. And, I can be myself if you're being yourself. And I love those connections, It's not about getting someone saved at that point or about numbers. It's about people. And my favorite thing is to sit down with someone and have a coffee or milkshake or whatever. Share a pizza, have a conversation. That's the best. Because you just get them to open up and be who they are, and you let them know that that's okay. That's more important than having this the self-righteous image that you're displaying to them and telling them about the bad things that'll happen if they're not more like you. Yeah, that's the best way I can put that. I don't know how I got here from the coronavirus is a curse from God. I don't know how I did it. I'm special that way. And you'll learn to love it or hate it. I don't know. I swear this is my first wine, so I'm just acting crazy because I'm tired. It's been a long day. I should be in bed at 10:30, but I'll be up for a while uploading this video. Anyway, thanks for just listening to me ramble. Once again, I'm choosing to disable comments on YouTube videos at this time. I don't have the time to moderate and police that. I've just got a lot going on with work, family, trying to, do some other educational projects and stuff like that. So I just don't have the time to put into that. Feel free, though, to hit me up on Twitter, or if we're friends, hit me up on Facebook. And I'd love to connect, answer any questions that I can. If you're local, hit me up. We'll have coffee when we're allowed. But I'm having fun doing these videos. I'm going to try to keep doing it. Last week, I kind of flaked. It was super late, and I was super tired when I realized I had not done the video because everyone got to bed late last week, and I just didn't have it in me to try to put it together and stay up for another 2 hours doing the whole process. So that's where I am with that. And I apologize to my 2 subscribers that you missed that. Please feel free to subscribe. Hit me with a thumbs up or a thumbs down even if you don't like what I'm doing, just so I know someone's listening, someone's getting something out of this. Please hit me up on Twitter if you can. But yeah, that's where I am. That's my views on the coronavirus and my family, how we're handling things. I am super excited to get back to church. Really looking forward to playing the drums again. I was needing some time off, but 2 months is too long. I wanted 2 weeks off. So yeah, miss it a lot. Looking forward to getting back to my family. My church family I'm actually tighter with them than I am my biological family. My sister lives like 2 miles from me. I see her 3 times a year. We're just not super tight. But yeah, it's definitely, like I said, hit me up. I'd love to hear how you're coping, what your church is doing, what your views are, overkill or not doing enough. Personally, I think Governor DeWine is doing an amazing job with what he's been dealt, and I would not want to be in the position he's in, or our president. President Trump. I don't agree with everything he does or says, but I wouldn't want his job on the same, at the same time. So yeah, that's where I am. So God bless. Really, I know I don't get Christian-y a lot in these things, but I feel super blessed to be able to have this outlet that I've not had in a while, just to share my thoughts, share my views, especially now in quarantine. It's just been super weird. I'm a major introvert, which is why I like just doing like one-on-one things with people. But it's nice to be able to sit here and talk to myself while I'm doing this, and just hope that someone's getting something out of it. At the risk of sounding super weird, which I am, I love you all, and I'm here for you if I can be of any kind of service. And again, please hit me with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't even care. I just want to know that someone is watching. Hit me up on Twitter, especially if you're able, Facebook. And I will do my best to talk to you next week. Thanks a lot.